with the backlighting there.
Madison from New South Wales.
Madison, how are you? Look, I think the purpose of tonight was to give voters an insight into our plans. You know, what we'll do to help New Zealand rebuild and recover after COVID-19. And I think that debate provided an opportunity for people to see that. My view is that politics is not a blood sport. It is a chance for people to see what our ambitions are, where we want to take New Zealand, and I think we had the platform for that tonight.
How did you deal with the interaction with Judith Collins? There was a lot of interrupting and a lot of fighting for space. Did you find that personally uncomfortable?
Perhaps the fact that, as you say that, I've had to remind myself of the fact that that was as it was happening, because actually in the room in person, it didn't feel that way. It felt like more a contested conversation. So no different, or certainly no worse, in a parliamentary environment. And of course, we're both well attuned to that.
Do you think you both got your points across, though? Do you think you both had that opportunity?
I can only, of course, speak for myself. I absolutely felt like there was that opportunity to get across, our plan for the future, particularly under these circumstances. And I do think that's what voters want these platforms for. They want an opportunity to hear us in long form, and I think we had that opportunity tonight.
Did she get under your skin when she was talking about child poverty? You said at one point, I can't stand by and listen to this. Was that frustrating for you to hear?
No, I think you will have heard me say that I'm quite passionate about that area, and so I, of course, wanted to give a slightly longer form answer. Look, no. I don't think that you can be in politics and allow other politicians to get under your skin. You just have to use the opportunities you have to share your record and stand proudly on it. And in that area, I absolutely do. Mikey.
Did you fail to take the gloves off a little bit to get a bit more bold with it? Were you playing it a bit safe, perhaps?
No, I think people are probably used to the way that I do politics. And that is that, I want to make sure that it isn't a blood sport, that people have the time to hear from us. I've never done the personal, and I won't. That's not how I do politics, and that's not how I campaign. So I think they just saw the way that I like to operate. I think people want to hear from us, and so we need to use that opportunity to do that. Yeah, Jackson.
Do you believe that Judith Collins treats politics and treated tonight's debate as a blood sport?
No, not at all. No, that was not at all an assumption about anyone else. I actually thought tonight did give an opportunity for people to hear from us. My view is that's what people want. I know people will be often seeking that entertainment that comes from a bit more argy-bargy, but in this environment right now, this is the time for people to hear what our plans are for the future. That's critical.
Do you think there is enough of a differentiation between the plans that both of your parties are presenting and that they are being articulated in that way?
And probably, what I would like the opportunity for, and I'm sure we'll have other opportunities to present that, are around some of those plans for instance, the way that we intend to pay down debt, our plans around tax, because of course those are significant differences for us. The work that we'll do around investment and whether or not the plan that's been presented from National is sufficient to pay for our services, much needed services. So those are areas that I believe the campaign will allow us time for, but there are major differences there.
When you take away that tax policy though, are there significant differences in the debt trap and that sort of thing, but with welfare,
absolutely.
And
Well, you heard tonight clear differences on the environment, clear differences on the perspective on climate change, clear differences around the way we view poverty and inequality and the role of our welfare system in that. There absolutely are very clear differences, and we will have other opportunities to keep highlighting those. Absolutely not. And you will have heard me stand proudly, actually, on our record. And the Children's Commissioner, of course, would not have pointed to that foundation that we have laid being more significant than any government in the last 30 years unless we had started making progress on that huge issue.
Both
Yeah.
and Judith Collins went out of her way to speak about optimism tonight. Is that perhaps a reflection of how difficult this year's been, and has that changed quite largely the debating and the campaigning landscape?
I think actually I've always been someone in politics who, has looked to the future and the cause for optimism, even in opposition where it's often quite difficult to maintain that optimistic tone. But For me, I genuinely believe there is cause for optimism. Our plans for the future, despite being in this really challenging time, are an opportunity for us to rebuild in a way that positions New Zealand well for those challenges like, for instance, climate change. So there is good cause for that optimism. Of course, we'll need to be back in government in order to deliver on that plan, though.
There was very little reference tonight into what was the elephant in the room of the 2017 election, that is Winston Peters. He was out of Parliament in the poll tonight. Would you be glad to see the back of him and his party, given the struggles that you've had in the coalition government?
Oh, actually, you know, we're in an election period, and so I fully expect Winston Peters to campaign as he always has. What I won't do is reflect negatively on what we've achieved as a government, because actually I'm proud of that, and we did that with New Zealand First and we did that with the Greens. When it comes to the next iteration of government, voters will decide that. All right, I'll take last one.
Was there a policy that you really wanted to score a lot of points on the board with tonight that you maybe didn't get as much words in on?
I don't think I view these debates in that way. There are certainly more issues that we could discuss in the future, and I think our differences in our fiscal plan, around job creation, around the environment, there's more to discuss there, and I'm sure we'll have that opportunity in the future. All right, thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Hi everyone.
Judith Collins, Jacinda Ardern said that she didn't want to see a blood sport tonight. Is that the same perception that you have?
I actually really enjoyed myself tonight. In fact, I felt like I could do it again. Yep. Well, I have to say, I really enjoyed myself, and I just felt that, could have gone for another hour. I really enjoyed it so much.
But do you feel that you've got your party's policies? And
Oh yeah, I think we've got.
your own personality across to New Zealand as the way that you wanted to?
Yeah, I feel that came across.
Do you spend too much time criticising Labor and not promoting your own policies?
Well, I noticed that comment from one of the commentators afterwards. Actually, I got out tax cuts, I got out RMA reform, I got out tech policy, I got out a lot of policy out there. And you know what? It's only an hour and a half. If only it was 2.5, I could have done any more.
You seem to get under her skin quite a lot with your child poverty comments. Why do you think that was?
I think because Labor must be embarrassed about it. I mean, we've got 4,100 more children in material hardship before COVID, and food banks, particularly in South Auckland, even worse in terms of the numbers of people having to go to them than in December last year before COVID. I'd say it's a bit of an embarrassment for someone who came to politics to end child poverty.
Can you just clarify, have you read the welfare export?
No, I haven't actually read it, and I said that. Sorry?
Isn't that an embarrassment?
No, it's not. I tell you what would be if I thought that was the answer, because I am focused on getting people into work, growing the economy, and actually I don't want to have to worry about saying to people it's okay having 300,000 people on welfare. My view is getting people into work is absolutely crucial.
The Prime Minister says that she was disappointed that there wasn't more discussion about fiscal and economic policy. Lucky escape for you?
Not at all. I'm always happy to talk about growing the economy, and I also think too.
Fiscal
Well, I think she might have wanted to have a bit more talk about Kiwi Build and under delivery. But you know what? I actually thought it was a great session. I really enjoyed John Campbell's chairing of it, and I thought that's the first leaders' debate that I've had. I tell you what, if they get any better than that, it'd be fantastic.
You talked a lot about the plan, but is that still credible given the problems that you've had with those numbers?
Oh, well, of course it is credible. The fact is the Prime Minister's got no plan. She talked about plans and then didn't reveal one. So, yes, we do have a plan, and the numbers simply moved level from 35 to 36% of GDP in the year 2034, as opposed to the government's one, which is 48% debt.
I'm worried, though, about the second and third one in terms of the capital investment and the potential transport funding.
No. In fact, we have confirmation that actually the media are wrong on that one, and I understand that the economists are putting out a statement tomorrow confirming that.
Do you think you won tonight's debate?
Yeah, I reckon. I certainly didn't feel like I was losing.
What economists will
Yes,
be putting out?
I think it'll be out tomorrow, but it's nzherald, I think, are doing it, and that's, wait for their statement.
Did you go back to the nzherald?
Sorry?
You only mentioned the word Kiwi build and recession actually once in that.
Yeah, I should have said it a bit more, shouldn't I?
Did you
Yeah.
feel like you picked enough holes in this?
Yeah, I actually think that probably I've picked enough holes in Phil Twyford and Kiwi Build over the years so that people probably do realise what an utter failure that was. And if only we'd spent a bit more time in housing, I could have done that a bit more. But, as I said, I could have had another hour, been great.
So have you asked nzherald?
I haven't personally asked them to do anything, so you'd need to ask Paul Goldsmith.
Is that because they didn't pick up the initial mistake? I mean, you came out with the sentence costed and cheap,
Yeah.
and there was a big
Yeah,
error. So NZHR had to go back and...
It's basically an accounting error, and the thing is that there is a plan, and that is great.
Are there more errors?
Not that I'm aware of. And I think we'll leave it to the economists to look at it and to tell you themselves.
Where do you think you were your strongest tonight?
I think for my passion for our country and my positive view about what we can do with the economy, I'm not going to sit back and say it's all too hard and we can't talk about getting people into work and how we can do it. We've already been announcing plans to do that, and as you know, yesterday I announced our tech policy, a really high value area for us as a country, worth $8 billion in exports, and not even a dicky bird out of the Prime Minister on it. The fact is that I thought that having a positive plan for the future, and also understanding that we live in a tough world, and now's the time for us to really get focused on growing that economy.
You're obviously a very strong advocate for small business.
Yes.
Does that come at the expense of other sectors of society? In some cases, like there was a minimum wage debate, for example. Are you putting too much emphasis on that? I know it's very important, but is that going to be at the expense of other parts of
Do you know, I've been in small business for much of my adult life, not all of it, but much of it. And I know that...
What small business?
Well, 2 restaurants and a law firm.
Okay.
Yeah. You should read my book, then you'd know. Wouldn't ask silly questions like that. And what I know is this, is that there are some small business owners, and I've acted for a lot as well when I was a lawyer, practicing as a lawyer, I should say, because I still am, who actually are getting less than the minimum wage. And they're getting nothing at the moment. They can't pay their rent. They're paying their wages just to keep their staff employed and to keep some business coming through the door. But when you've got cafe owners turning around and saying that they sold $10 worth of food or coffee today, that tells you there's something really wrong, and we do need to actually understand that small business owners cannot continue to pay for the promises of Jacinda Ardern.
I understand, and I'm not downplaying the importance either to small business in New Zealand. I'm just saying politically whether your focus comes potentially at the expense of, for example, a low wage economy.
Well, I think it's really important to understand this, that if we don't back small businesses, they close. And that means it's not a low wage, it's a no wage. And that's the real problem that the Labour government has, is that they don't seem to understand that there's not some sort of magic path through for small business. It's hard, it's tough, and actually you've got to be watching every single cent. And I've just had so many small businesses contact me and tell me how hard they're finding it, and they just said all these announcements, promises from Labour, as soon as their leases are up, they're out of there.
What's your reaction to the one news comma brunching policy?
Oh, well, I thought, so the poll tonight. Oh, I actually thought, well, it's game on. It's a challenge. I love a fight, and I think you saw it.
Do you need to fight harder to lift that target?
Oh, I think you're just going to see some good news coming through.
The undecided vote,
It's pretty big, 14%, yeah.
crucial for you?
I think undecided vote is always crucial to every election. We've seen it change things very quickly, particularly in those last 2 weeks of an election. But I also know this, is that there'll be some people looking tonight and they'll be coming back to National, I think. I hope so.
You seem to get a little emotional when you mentioned your husband.
Mm-hmm.
There was sort of an eloquent moment there. Were you on the verge of tears there, and is that part of your plan possibly to show more of your emotions to you?
Look, I'm not actually an actress, so I just tell you what I think. And the fact is that when people look at me and they think that I don't know anything about poverty, oh yes I do.
Are you planning an accommodation allowances and MP for being Wellington?
I'd say actually because yes, I do, as every other MP does, and of course the Prime Minister lives in Premier House, so she doesn't have to claim one.
That's okay, even though you have a house and a trust.
Yes, it's absolutely within the rules. And the thing is that my main house, of course, and where I really live with my family, is in Auckland. Although I have to say, through the lockdown, I've spent a lot more time in Wellington. Thanks for asking.
You just have to be totally confident with that arrangement.
Yes, I absolutely am, because I know the rules. Thank you.